Hello. In this video we are going to discuss about the teachers in One Piece. In other words, we will see which character is whose teacher, and who trained which character in a diagram. Let's start. Since it would be too complicated, I decided to start with the most familiar characters. Let's take a look at the characters that Monkey D. Garp has trained. Luffy and Ace. Actually there are also Sabo, Helmepo and Kobe, but they are included in the story later. So we will see them in a separate area. First of all, if we look at Luffy, he was trained by Garp as a kid. He later joined the Battle of Marineford, was badly wounded, and was later trained on an island by Rayleigh. This train was about hockey. Oh, by the way, since Shanks was on Roger's crew when he was a kid, we can assume he was trained by Rayleigh. Luffy then went through a short and hard training by Hyogoro to use his haki at the highest level and cover his body on the island of Wano, and was successful. Unlike Luffy, Ace was trained by the Whitebeard pirates. Edward Newgate took him on board and trained him. Sabo lived very differently from these two brothers. As a child, ashamed of being a noble, he was protected by the dragon, and came under the protection of the revolutionaries. Sabo's teachers include Ivankov, Kuma, Dragon and Hack. At the same time, Robin was trained by revolutionaries for 2 years. By the way, there is one more person trained by the revolutionaries, Sanji. Sanji was also Zeph's apprentice at a young age. Zeph taught him to cook and fight. But Sanji's birth father was working with Vegapunk. The two of them were working on different technologies together. Vegapunk was also the leader of the team called MADS, which included the Queen and the Judge. Vegapunk had 2 students, one of them was Caesar Clown, Vegapunk's lab assistant. The other trained himself through the research of Frankie Vegapunk. At the same time, Frankie was a shipmaster Tom's apprentice at a young age. If we look at the marine characters, there is a slightly more ordered hierarchy. Akiji is probably Garp's apprentice, because he spent a lot of time with him, so I think Garp taught him something. Kobe and Helmepo were also trained by Garp. But since Akiji and Garp are always together, Kobe and Helmepo may have been trained by Akiji as well. Sengoku also played a large role in Akiji's training. Sengoku recommended Akiji to Kong to become a Navy admiral. Before the Great Shiki War, Sengoku and Kizaru were seen together. He probably played an important role in his training. He also commissioned the Kizaru for the island of Sabandy. Since Kizaru called him sensei when the former admiral attacked Zephyr, we can assume Zephyr played a role in Kizaru's training. Actually, Zephyr had trained a lot of people back then, but I'm not adding them to the list because we don't know who exactly. Let's take a look at the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates. First of all, let's take a look at the second man of the crew, Zoro. Kushiro began to train Zoro and Kuina at a young age. Unfortunately, Kuina died at a young age. But Zoro continued to improve himself. He received training from Mihawk for 2 years. And he's still losing his way. Chopper was luckier than the others. He was trained from the very beginning by Dr. Hiluluk and Dr. Koreha. His goal is to become a doctor who cures every disease. Usopp was trained in a large forest by a botanist named Heracles. Nami learned to control the weather on the Sky Island by Huridas, a scientist. I know some of the characters are not here. Because their teachers are not exactly known, I did not add them. I hope you like.